In it comes to Lionel Messi. His control is brilliant. His finish is even better. It's sensational from Lionel Messi.
Nobody saw this coming. Everyone thought Argentina had hit the jackpot. Cape Verde were playing in their first ever World Cup knockout match. Lionel Messi was leading the defending champions. On paper, it looked like one of the easiest fixtures of the tournament. Most fans were already talking about Argentina's next opponent before this game had even kicked off. But football has a funny way of making people look foolish. Because what happened that night wasn't just another World Cup game. It became one of the wildest, most nerve-wracking, and unforgettable matches the tournament has seen in years. And trust me, the craziest part wasn't even Messi's goal. It was what happened after everyone thought the game was already over. Before we jump into all of that, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, because this story only gets crazier from here. Now let's get into it. The opening whistle blew, and exactly what everyone expected started happening. Argentina controlled possession almost immediately. The ball barely left Cape Verde's half during the opening minutes. Every touch from Messi brought excitement inside the stadium. Every Argentina attack looked dangerous. It felt like the favorites were simply warming up before taking complete control. Cape Verde weren't expected to survive for long. Most football fans barely knew anything about this team before the tournament started. A small island nation, a tiny population, a squad filled with players that most casual fans had never heard of. They weren't supposed to be here, and they definitely weren't supposed to challenge the reigning world champions. But that's exactly what made this story so special. Because while the world underestimated Cape Verde, they never underestimated themselves. You could see it from the very first minute. They weren't sitting back hoping to lose by only 1 or 2 goals. They weren't scared of Messi. They weren't scared of Argentina. They actually believed they belonged on the same field. That confidence shocked everyone watching. Still, talent usually wins. And eventually, Argentina found the breakthrough. The moment every fan had been waiting for finally arrived. Lionel Messi. One quick movement, one perfect finish, one more record added to an already legendary career. Argentina took the lead, and the stadium erupted. For a few seconds, everything felt normal again. The defending champions were ahead. The favorites were cruising. Commentators started talking about game management. Fans relaxed. Social media filled with posts saying exactly what everyone expected. Game over. But here's something that most people completely missed. If you look closely at Messi's celebration, it wasn't full of joy. It looked more like relief. Instead of celebrating with total freedom, there was almost a feeling of pressure coming off his shoulders, almost as if he already knew this wasn't going to be an easy night. That tiny detail would become incredibly important later. Because despite taking the lead, Argentina weren't playing against a team ready to surrender, not even close. Cape Verde kept running, kept pressing, kept believing. Every tackle became stronger, every pass became sharper, every attack carried more confidence. Instead of falling apart after conceding, they actually started growing into the match. And suddenly, something strange happened. Argentina weren't dominating anymore. Cape Verde started winning second balls. They started controlling possession for longer periods. Their midfield became fearless. Their defenders stepped higher up the pitch. The entire rhythm of the match completely changed. The world champions suddenly looked uncomfortable, and that's when people watching around the world started asking the same question. Wait, what's happening here? This wasn't part of the script. Nobody expected Argentina to struggle like this, especially against a team making its World Cup knockout debut. Yet minute after minute, Cape Verde kept proving they belonged. Their goalkeeper was making unbelievable saves. Their defenders were throwing themselves in front of every shot. Their midfield refused to stop running. Every player looked like they were playing the biggest match of their lives, because they were. Meanwhile, pressure slowly started building on Argentina. The crowd became quieter. Every misplaced pass created more frustration. Every missed chance increased the tension. And suddenly, all those conversations about Argentina being tournament favorites didn't seem so certain anymore. You could even sense the pressure on Messi. Every time he touched the ball, the expectation became heavier. Everyone wanted him to produce another magical moment. Everyone expected him to rescue the team. That's the blessing and the burden of being Lionel Messi. When you're the greatest player of your generation, people don't expect good performances. They expect miracles. But football doesn't always work that way. Sometimes even legends need help. And Argentina weren't getting much of it. Cape Verde kept pushing harder. The confidence inside their team kept growing. The belief inside the stadium kept growing. Even the commentators started changing their tone. This was no longer a routine victory. This had become a real contest, a dangerous one. One mistake, one counterattack, one moment of brilliance. That's all it would take to completely flip the game upside down. And nobody inside the stadium was ready for what came next. Because just when Argentina thought they had everything under control, Cape Verde produced a moment that would leave the entire football world absolutely stunned. And that was only the beginning. The second half started, and honestly, it felt like everyone expected Argentina to wake up and finish the job. That's usually what great teams do. They absorb a little pressure, make a few adjustments, and remind everyone why they're world champions. But Cape Verde had completely different plans. Instead of slowing down, they came out with even more confidence. Every attack looked dangerous. Every counterattack had purpose. Every player looked like they truly believed they could pull off one of the biggest upsets in World Cup history. And then it happened. Cape Verde played a beautiful passing move that sliced right through Argentina's defense. One quick touch, another perfect pass, a calm finish. Goal. Just like that. It was 1-1. The stadium went silent. Argentina's players stood there in disbelief. Cape Verde celebrated like they had just won the tournament, and honestly, who could blame them? They had just scored against the defending world champions in a knockout match. At that moment, the pressure completely shifted. Suddenly, Argentina weren't protecting a lead anymore. Now they were fighting just to survive. The cameras kept cutting to Messi. You could see him trying to lift his teammates. He wasn't panicking, but he definitely knew this wasn't going according to plan. As the clock kept ticking, Argentina pushed forward looking for a winner. They created chances. Messi came close. The crowd tried to lift the team, but Cape Verde refused to break. Their goalkeeper was unbelievable. Their defenders threw themselves in front of everything. Every clearance felt like a goal. Every tackle got louder cheers from their fans. When the referee finally blew for full time, the score was still tied. Extra time. Nobody expected this. Before kickoff, people were asking how many goals Argentina would win by. Now they were wondering if Argentina might actually get knocked out. Extra time started perfectly for Argentina. Only a couple of minutes in, they found another breakthrough. Lautaro Martinez put the ball in the back of the net, and finally, it looked like the favorites had escaped. Players celebrated. Fans breathed again. Commentators started saying Cape Verde had given everything they had. It felt like the fairy tale was over. But football has a way of laughing at predictions, because Cape Verde refused to quit. Instead of accepting defeat, they pushed forward one more time. And then came one of the moments that nobody watching will ever forget. Cape Verde scored again. Tied to 2. The entire stadium exploded. Even the ESPN FC panel later admitted they got goosebumps just talking about that goal. It wasn't just the finish. It was what it represented. A tiny nation playing in its first World Cup, standing toe-to-toe with the defending champions. For a few minutes, Argentina looked completely shaken. Even head coach Lionel Scaloni barely celebrated anything because he understood how serious the situation had become. This wasn't supposed to happen. The world champions were hanging on. Cape Verde were actually the team playing with more energy. Their confidence kept growing while Argentina looked exhausted. Eventually, luck finally smiled on Argentina. An unfortunate own goal gave them the lead once again. It wasn't the dramatic winner fans expected. It wasn't another Messi masterpiece. But at that stage, Argentina didn't care how it happened. All that mattered was surviving. When the final whistle finally blew, the celebrations from Argentina felt more like relief than joy. They were through. But everyone watching knew something had changed. The defending champions had shown they were vulnerable, and the rest of the tournament had just received a very clear warning. When the emotions settled down, one thing became crystal clear. Yes, Argentina won. Yes, Messi scored. Yes, they're moving on to the next round. But this match raised a lot more questions than it answered. For years, Argentina have been known for finding ways to win, even when they don't play their best. That's the mindset of champions. But surviving against Cape Verde wasn't part of anyone's prediction. ESPN FC's panel didn't spend most of their time praising Argentina. Instead, they couldn't stop talking about Cape Verde. They called it one of the greatest underdog performances they've ever seen. At a World Cup. Think about that for a second-day nation making its World Cup debut. Pushed the defending champions to the absolute limit. They played fearless football, created chances, matched Argentina physically, and for long stretches, looked like the stronger team. That's something nobody expected. At the same time, Argentina also showed a weakness that future opponents will definitely notice. As the game went on, they looked tired. Their defense struggled with pace. The midfield started losing control. Even Messi, who once seemed capable of playing forever, looked exhausted by the final whistle. That's not criticism. It's reality. Long tournaments test every team, and Argentina just survived one of the toughest mental and physical battles they'll face. Now, another challenge is waiting. Egypt stands between Argentina and the quarterfinals. On paper, Argentina are still the favorites. But after this scare, nobody will underestimate another underdog again. Because if Cape Verde proved anything, it's that reputation doesn't win football matches. Performance does. And that's exactly why this World Cup keeps delivering unforgettable moments. So what do you think? Was this simply one bad night for Argentina? Or did Cape Verde expose real problems that stronger teams could take advantage of?